Number 21, 22, and 23 I'm going to let you do on your own. I'll check your solutions. Since you could all use a different variety of variables and a different variety of words to express those verbal phrases, me giving you one exact answer doesn't necessarily do the problem justice. So I'm going to move on to number 24, find the perimeter of each figure. Finding the perimeter simply means that we are adding up all of the sides. And so I generally start with a point and give it a value so that I know where I'm starting and don't accidentally fall short on not having enough values or add too many values. And I like to give myself a direction to remember which way I'm going. Now, usually I don't write this on my paper. I will indicate where I start, but I don't normally do the direction because I always tend to go clockwise. But if it's going to help you not make mistakes, it's certainly a recommended way of approaching the problem. So I'll start by rewriting my first expression, 2x minus 4. And since we're figuring out the perimeter, we're adding all of the sides. So I'm going to add to that x plus 3. And I'm going to add to that x minus 1. And I'm going to add to that 5x plus 6. And I'm going to add to that 2x minus 10. And so I knew to stop here because I had already accounted for that first side. Now we have a bunch of parentheses, and we look through and see that I have addition signs in front of every parentheses. If you distribute the 1 that's in front of the parentheses to every term, those parentheses are going to disappear. So we will be left with 2x minus 4 plus x plus 3 plus x minus 1 plus 5x plus 6 plus 2x minus 10. And just as we've done earlier in the study guide, we can start to combine like terms. So 2x plus x is 3x, plus x is 4x, plus 5x is 9x, plus 2x is 11x. All right, now we want to go through and capture our constants. So we have a minus 4 plus 3. Minus 4 plus 3, that's going to give me negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 6 is positive 4. Positive 4 minus 10 is then negative 6. And so our perimeter would be 11x minus 6 units. Next problem, 25. 25 is very similar to 24. So I'm going to give myself a starting place and direction. And so we will start with 2x minus 8. This time I'm going to do it without writing all the parentheses because I'm going to realize that as I'm adding sides, I'm never going to have a subtraction sign in front of a parenthesis. So it's just going to save me a step. Plus 4x plus 10x plus 2 plus 10x plus 2 plus 4x. And now notice real quickly before I continue, this is where students tend to make the most common mistake. They jump straight from the 4x to the 15x because there's no other numbers on the paper. But we must remember that this side does have a length as well. And it's going to be identical to the portion above it. So we want to include plus 2x minus 8 and then plus 15x. And so now we can start combining like terms. We have 2x plus 4x is 6x, plus 10x is 16x, plus 10x is 26x, plus 4x is 30x, plus 2x is 32x, plus 15 gives me 47 x's. And now we can go through and capture the constants. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6, plus 2 is negative 4, minus 8 is negative 12. All right, next we have two problems where we'll be finding the area. I'm going to start with the rectangle here, because finding the area of the rectangle tends to be a little bit easier. That's simply multiplying length times width, so we would have 14 times 6r plus 2. And so we have our 14 times 6, which is 84r, plus 14 times 2, which is 28. And there are no like terms, so all we can really do is multiply those together and realize that this inner rectangle has an area of 84r plus 28. And now I'm going to shift to a different color so that we can see what's taking place in the next part. We need to find the area of this triangle. And we know the area of a triangle uses the formula 1/2 base times height. So in order to find the area of the triangle, we need to know the height and we need to know the base. Well, the base is going to be down here where the right angle is. That's very important with a triangle to look for the right angle, because that's going to show us where both the altitude and the base meet. And so the base is the distance from one end to the other. That's going to be 16. So 1/2 times 16 times the height. Now the height's a little bit trickier because we aren't really given the height. Notice over here that the entire height of this shape is 15r, but we only want to know the height of the triangle. Now this is where having this piece of rectangle down here helps us out, because the piece of rectangle down here is 6r plus 2. Now generally this would be much easier if we knew that this was 15 and this was 6. We could find the remaining difference of 9. But since we have variables in here, it becomes a little bit more complicated. We're starting with our 15r and we're subtracting from the 15r 6r plus 2. Now we have a parentheses that has a subtraction sign in front of it. And so remember earlier where I told you there was an invisible 1 in front of things, and that anytime we had a variable we wanted to look at the number and the sign in front of it? Well, that's what we're going to distribute, is the number with the sign in front of it. So negative 1 times 6r is negative 6r. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Everything else will come down. So 15r minus 6r is 9r minus 2. So now we know that the height of the triangle is 9r minus 2. So times 9r minus 2. We can simplify. 1/2 of 16 is 8 times 9r minus 2. Now, 8 times 9, because we want to distribute, is 72r minus 8 times 2 is 16. We did a good bit of work there just to figure out that this triangle has an area of 72r minus 16. I'm going to go back to my blue pen to finalize things. We want to know the total area, so 84r plus 28 plus 72r minus 16. So we'll combine our 84 and 72 because those are like terms. And we come up with 156. And we have a positive 28 and a negative 16. So that's going to give me a positive 12. So all together, oops, I left my R off. All together, we have 156r plus 12 units squared. Now 27 is much simpler because that's just going to use the area formula, base times height, where the area is going to be equal to a base of 10 times a height of 9 minus y. And so again, we'll distribute. 10 times 9 is 90. Minus 10 times y is 10y. Now we do generally prefer for a coefficient and variable to be in front of the statement. So the area would be equal to negative 10y. And our 90 is currently positive because there's no sign in it. So plus 90 units squared.